Welcome to the world of whales evolution. In the well-being part, we care about how whales came into being as much as how we care about the well-being of the earth. Therefore, we would like to invite you on a journey to discover the evolution of whales. Most importantly, we want you to enjoy your time wandering around, discovering magical moments that have taken place on Earth across time. Before we take off, I would like to teach you a few tricks to best explore the fun in the park. First, let's move from one place to another. Good job! You just made your very first move. Besides these arrows, there are also places in the park where you can teleport from place to place freely. Now aim at the platform in front of you by pressing down the trackpad. Now you see a grid glowing, which means that any place within the area is teleportable. Welcome on board, adventurer! Take your time to explore the park with an inquisitive mind. Now you know perfectly how to navigate around in the park. Time to learn a few tricks to interact with space. Now you are on a fast path to the beginning of the life of whales. Before we see the whale's first ancestor, let's clarify how we talk about time in scale. We use a geological timescale here. Today, it is organized into 5 subgroups: eons, eras, periods, epochs, and ages. Organizing time in increments like this allows us to ask questions about history on different scales. In the largest increments, like eons and eras, we can ask the biggest of big-picture questions, the top-level view, like, was there life on Earth at this time? But smaller increments of time, like periods and epochs, help us take a tighter focus and ask more specific questions like, how did life around the world adapt to the climate change at that time? You're very close. Mesozoic era is the age of reptiles, but it is not the era where whales came into being. This is the era when dinosaurs live on land and in the air. The flying dinosaurs, also known as avian dinosaurs, later became the birds that we know today. However, the on-land dinosaurs died when a giant asteroid struck the Earth. Bingo! You are correct. The Cenozoic is when many organisms took shapes and behaviors that you can actually recognize. It is also the era that marks the rise of the mammals, the era that we're in today. At that time, the climate warmed and jungles stretched across the planet. Most of the mammal groups that we recognize today had come about, like bats, rodents, primates, and whales. About 49 million years ago, this warming trend shifted. The world began its long journey from the greenhouse to an icehouse. This is where the first whale came into being. The tale of whales' evolution is a story about one of the most remarkable transitions in the history of mammals. The fossil record shows that these animals transformed from tiny four-legged plant eaters no bigger than house cats to the seafaring giant of today. Smack in the middle of this amazing transformation is Ambulocetus, a toothy predator. Ambulocetus lived about 28 million years ago in what is now northern India and Pakistan. Its full name, Ambulocetus natans, literally means the walking, swimming whale. In the water, it was a powerful swimmer but not very fast or efficient. On land, it was clumsy too, with legs that spread out to the sides, a belly that almost dragged on the ground, and a snout that was so long and heavy it looked like it could barely lift its head. Now, if a long aquatic ambush predator sounds familiar, that's because Ambulocetus is basically the mammal version of a crocodile. It lived comfortably between the land and water. In the 1980s and 90s, a set of genetic studies took sequences of DNA from whales and compared them to the same sequences in other living animals. These comparisons showed that the cetaceans are actually most closely related to a group known as artiodactyls, hoofed animals that include hippos, pigs, and deers. But starting from 34 million years ago, the climate began to shift again. This time, ice caps started to grow at the poles, taking up much of the planet's water. These drier conditions created a new habitat, the grassland. Okay, let's get back to the track of whales. Why is Oligocene important to whales' evolution? Because it is in the Oligocene epoch that whale species branched into two subgroups, toothed whales and baleen whales. The earliest known member of the baleen whales is from the latest Eocene, around 34 million years ago. The earliest known member of the toothed whales is from the early Oligocene, around 30 million years ago. These are the two cetacean nostrils gradually migrated back from their snout on top of their head, where we find them today. Baleen whales still have two holes up there, while toothed whales only have one below. Whales are technically carnivores, and he eats just about every kind of animal there is in the ocean. Toothed whales eat everything from fish to squid to seals, while baleen whales use their bristles to filter small animals like krill and plankton and even